guys? This is Ryan Fowler. Welcome to Inner Masculine Live. We got our internet issues fixed. We couldn't do the show earlier, but now we're up and kicking ass. And I'm here with my good friend AJ. AJ lived in Dallas with me back when I lived in Dallas. Met him at Hot Dude Con. He did a session with me, and he agreed to share his experience and how the session helped him. But we're not just doing that today. We also have a really good YouTube clip we're going to analyze and pick apart about self-sabotage. It's from the YouTube channel Psychacks. After the show, I'll go ahead and put a link in the description. This guy, it's a psychologist who helps men, and he doesn't announce himself as Red Pill, but he has a ton of Red Pill knowledge. He's really good. And he gave a YouTube clip on self-sabotage. What's it all about? I help guys with this a lot. It's probably one of the most important things I help guys with because it keeps guys stuck. It keeps guys from getting where they want to get. Guys will make an effort, take off, and then they'll just crash and burn, or they'll just stop, or they'll just run out of energy. They don't know why, and they're not getting what they want. So this clip is going to explain it, and then we're going to take it a bit deeper because we have some techniques to really just resolve the self-sabotage. AJ I believe, has had some self-sabotage behaviors that I think we helped him with. So before that YouTube clip, I'd like to introduce you to AJ. Go ahead and introduce yourself and maybe tell us a little bit about yourself and how you met me.
All right. So 33, live in the Dallas area for about 3 years now. Met Ryan through the Masculine Empowerment Network and Hot Dude Con from Modern Life Dating when he came in December of 21.
John MLD, yep.
Yep. I got in touch with John through being zeroed out from my now ex-fiance. It brought me on a little thing where I started following the Rule Zero guys, gave John a consult in July of 21 after a fight. And that was after my ex cheated on me with a coworker when I was out of town to deal with a fire for my parents. They lost their entire house. So right there's a red flag for all you.
And what do you think these red flags meant about your ex?
Oh, it's like I was saying in the backstage area. I can't diagnose her because I'm not a psychologist or a shrink or clinician or whatever it's called. But she exhibited high levels of everything for a covert malignant narcissist, which is a combination of a narcissist and a sociopath. Like she gets pleasure out of hurting people, but she does it in a covert way and does a whole bunch of shame tactics.
Yeah, they're like covert emotional bullies. They get a power trip off of hurting you, but they're covert about it. And like a bully does it physically in your face, she's like the covert behind the scenes getting a power trip off of her.
Oh yeah,
would you say that's accurate?
Yeah, that's accurate. And even then, after we broke up, this is July of 22 or June of 22, I get a text from her aunt. She moved back to Washington to live with her aunt when she left me. She slept with her aunt's boyfriend out of spite. That doesn't do anything.
She sleeps with everyone. Give me your number. No, I'm just kidding.
I mean, she's got a body count north of 100 by now.
Yeah, and she's quite an attractive girl, but you saw some red flags before, well before you broke up. Is that right?
Oh yeah, it was like just the anger and everything. Like, she would give the silent treatment, and then like I do it just to cool down. She would give it to me for days, kind of thing. There was also like the gaslighting. Like I didn't realize what gaslighting was until I actually learned about gaslighting. I'm like,
until she did it,
crap. And then like I called her out on it, and it's like, and then she freaked out on me. The constant accusations, which were like self-projection in a way, like she constantly accused me of cheating. Never did that.
Yeah.
But she was doing it on her own, kind of thing. There's just a whole bunch of other flags. So she physically got in my way when I tried leaving.
Giving you warning signs?
Say again?
Where your gut and your emotions giving you warning signs, something's off, something's off.
I think my gut was more than my emotions because dealing with a person like that with those types of personalities, the love bombing just makes you rethink everything in your head, but your body's like doing something else. Your body's like run. Your mind's like, it's good. She'll change. Or if I change enough, she'll change for me. Things will get better.
My camera just went down. Keep talking. I'll keep interviewing you.
All right.
But okay, so was that what motivated you to do a session with me, or what ended up happening?
I think it was a combination of that. I did a free consult with Brian Christensen, who called me out exactly on what I was, and I kind of ignored him on it. I had nice guy syndrome, so that didn't help things. So reading that book and then working with you, because you do a full plethora, whereas like Christensen's more targeted at one thing. You kind of get guys in a really good base level and allow them to start peeling back the onion layers to figure out where they need to go from there.
Okay, so you decided to do a session with me, and we met at the Hot Dude Con, first, and so how did the session help you?
I would say it helped a lot with like finding my own inner confidence and figuring out my own inner value more than anything. It's not relying on so much on the external validation of, say, a narcissist trying to love bomb you.
And how many sessions did we do?
We just did one.
How big was that? How big was it change for you? Was it permanent? Was it temporary? Was it just a little bit, very subtle, or was it, oh wow, things are different?
I'd say it's like kind of like a snowball in a way.
Okay.
Like things started slow and now they're coming bigger and bigger and bigger. Like I've even dropped off friends that didn't like the idea of me talking like with you or talking with John. It's like, oh no, I did extensive research. They're an evil guy. They're evil men. They manipulate. It's like,
oh wow, they said that about me.
Oh, not about you, but about John. I'm like, oh
yeah,
my god,
John's a good guy.
Have you ever met the guy? And like they'd get upset. They're like,
yeah, I met him at Hot Dude Con. He's great.
They're like, why aren't you taking advice from us? I'm like, dude, I'm not gonna take advice from you. One, don't take any offense. Like he was an army dude. I'm like, you have PTSD. Why? Like, and you're not getting it treated. Why am I gonna take emotional advice from you? Why am I gonna take financial advice from you? Why am I gonna take girl advice from you? No offense to him, I got a larger body count than him.
Yeah.
It's like I love hanging out with you. I love doing car stuff with you, but
succeeds in all of those. Yeah, very good.
Just like you could feel like the tension and him getting like upset about the improvement in my life that I was doing.
Okay, why do you think your friend didn't like your improvement?
Go back to that whole crabs in a barrel analogy.
Yep.
Once the person starts elevating, the rest of them below try to grab them back.
Yeah. So if you don't mind me asking, and I'm asking this because I know a lot of guys are in your situation. And this isn't just to like, toot my horn and say, hey, the session's so great. But this is, I bring guys on the show who struggled like a lot of guys who are watching this. What AJ struggles with, a lot of guys struggle with. And so we want to pick apart, where was he? How did he get better? And also some of the underlying concepts about knowing your value, going from, hey, I don't deserve any better. Hey, I really need the validation from this girl, so I'm going to stick with her, even though there's a lot of bull crap to go with it. Hey, I need friends. I need validation from my friends, even though they're not, maybe not friends that serve me the best. So we're going to go into all these underlying concepts, and then we're going to go on to self-sabotage with that YouTube clip that we're going to pick apart. But if you don't mind me asking, AJ, what do you think it was in you, or was it not, am I off, that made you maybe hang out with people who would drag you down, or have a girlfriend who would like keep insidiously kind of psychologically dragging you down, bullying you in a very insidious covert way? What do you think made you tolerate that and stay with that?
I think a lot of it was lack of confidence in myself and nice guy syndrome.
Okay. And what is at the core of nice guy syndrome, do you think? What causes that?
I think it's, for me personally, I think, and I love my parents, I'm not going to like trash on them or anything about that. I think with it is because of the way that they had to raise me and my two sisters, very low middle class, if not poverty. Both parents were working. My dad worked nights. Yeah, my dad worked nights. My mom worked days. I didn't have like a traditional 2-parent household to raise me, where by age 8, I was almost self-sufficient. I knew how to do my own laundry. I knew how to cook at 8. So
because your parents just weren't there. They were
my parents weren't there, and like I understand why, and I forgive them for it, and like they both come from broken homes themselves, so they kind of emulated their broken homeness onto me and my sisters, and here
they were doing the best they could.
Yeah, they did the best they could, and I don't fault them for it.
Okay, cool. So we did a session, and what exactly did that change in you? What do you think happened, and what are some of the benefits you realized from that?
Most of the benefits I'm seeing actually right now, like the friend situation wasn't even probably a month ago. Then the job interviews, getting that extra bump in that offer.
So did you just let friends go who weren't serving you, or you have better friends now, or you just let them go?
I'm kind of like in the transition of friends groups.
Okay, gotcha.
Like I'm trying to hang out with some of the local guys from John's Hot Dude Army, like that I've met, and then met up with Phil Foster and Glenn Lawrence, both very excellent dudes,
solid dudes. Yeah,
just like letting the people who don't support me that I have supported in the past and that are like, I feel like that tension is there, I'm just letting them go.
And both those guys are in the MEN group, John Hogwood's group, right?
I don't think Phil or Glenn are. I know they're in Thor's Dragon Ship.
Okay, gotcha. So Thor's Dragon Ship, kind of the same thing. The guys in those groups are working on self-improvement. And man, get with guys that are on their game, trying to even if they're not perfect, trying to self-improve, because they're going to encourage you. You encourage them. You guys have a goal of up-leveling. You got to have a good tribe, man. Don't have a tribe that drags you down. Have a tribe that lifts you up. So that's awesome. You told me that you were switching jobs and you got some job offers that pay more too. And did your session help with that? Or is that just a coincidence? And tell us about that.
I'm going to chalk it up to that session because like when I interviewed for my current job that I have right now and the job before that and the job before that, my first 3 jobs out of the service, I get like super nervous going to job interviews and like choke up and like get like shaky and stuff.
How do you feel now?
These last 3 companies I've interviewed with, I've got an offer from 2. Just walked in and just chill and spoke what I wanted to say. And then if I messed up or if I didn't know anything, I didn't try to lie. I was like, yeah, I don't know.
So when I do a session, I go in and change the narrative. Do you think there was a different narrative or it's just a different feeling? What do you think the belief is now versus before? Why were you nervous before and not now?
I think with those past jobs, I was trying to fake it to make it kind of thing. And now that I'm still interviewing within the same industry per se, because one was a field service rep, one is still being inside the data center industry. Yeah, I didn't have to fake it to make it. I got the confidence. I can talk my way around and know what I'm doing.
So now you got real confidence. Before you had to kind of put up
fake the confidence. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, cool. All right. So we're also going to watch this clip on self-sabotage. Is there anything else you want to say, about these techniques or anything about yourself, your journey, your up-leveling that you want to tell her? Anything that may be useful to those who are watching the show?
I would say for the audience, don't knock it until you try it. The first time I ever did hypnosis session was actually using an audio of Ryan's.
Self-hypnosis, yeah.
Self-hypnosis. And
how did that help, or did it?
It helped with some, because I had just gotten out of a fight with my now ex. And it kind of helped bring my awareness to, like, when I go into a session of self-hypnosis or even with a hypnotherapist, to bring my subconscious to my conscious, like on the same level. Because the first time I went through, I was walking down the stairs in his audio and my body was actually convulsing and I was like starting to cry. I'm like, oh God.
Yeah. What was that about?
I think it was because of all the projection that my ex put onto me, or all the projection my ex put onto me. Like calling me the narcissist, calling me the cheater and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
I'm like, I think my part of my body's like, but what if she's right? What if she's right? What if she's right? You don't want to go down there. Don't go down there.
I've been through that exactly. Like there's been times I didn't want to go inside and heal trauma because I'm like, what if I go down, look inside of myself and see I really am a bad person. I really am a loser.
And you don't.
What if it's true? It's not. What do you see instead?
You see a child. You see yourself as a child.
And what's that child like? Tell me about that child you met.
At that first time, that child was vulnerable. It was like help. Like it wasn't getting the help that it needed.
Exactly the same for me. Like a lot of us guys who don't have this deep down confidence, that are struggling, that are self-sabotaging. We're going to apply this to self-sabotage after we watch the Psychacks clip. It takes courage to go in and face your demons and clear them. And I'm not saying we clear every demon in one session. It's a process, but it's like we can take 1 or 2 or even 3 major demons and get them 60 to 100% resolved in one session. That happens all the time. But it takes courage to do that.
Yeah.
Because you're like, what if I look at the real me? No excuses. There's no alcohol. There's no video games. There's no distractions at all. What if I go inside and see who I really am and see I really am not good enough? That's pretty frightening. But you never find that. You find a hurt, scared kid that needs help, who needs love and support. You give it to them. And guess what? Then you get your true blue confidence. You know what I'm saying? Can you identify with that?
Oh, yeah. I fully agree with that.
Then you get your true blue confidence and then things happen. Now, You had like, hey, I'm not getting paid enough. I'm going to find another job, and boom, you got offered 22% higher. Is that right?
Yes. With
you got 2 offers.
Yeah, the first offer is a little lower, but the way that they structured in the overtime and the bonuses would actually brought me either at or slightly above what I make now. The company that I just got the next offer from was significantly higher. Like awesome. I wouldn't have to work any extra overtime, and I'd make, I think, about 4 to 10K more than I did last year.
Less hours, more money, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah, it works for me. Okay, so before we go on to this self-sabotage clip, anything else you want to say to our audience that might be helpful to them?
No, let's get into the clip and let's dissect it.
All right, cool. So this is from the Psychacks YouTube channel. This guy's a psychologist. He helps men. He's very, very insightful. Talking about self-sabotage. I pretty much completely agree with what he says. But after this clip, we're going to talk about, some solutions to what he's doing. So just give me a moment because I'm a boomer. Takes me a second to load this stuff up. All right. I'm not really a boomer. But anyways. All right. Okay. Self-sabotage. This is freaking awesome. Dude, a lot of guys struggle with this. A lot of guys. So let's dive into it. Here we go.
Taraban, and this is Psychacks, Better Living Through Psychology. And the topic of today's short talk is why people self-sabotage. So this is a topic that has been requested by many people over the last several months, so I'm happy to finally be doing an episode about it. Self-sabotage is a really complex behavior, so I can't pretend that this explanation will cover every aspect of that behavior. That said, I do think that it speaks to, let's say, the emotional core of what self-sabotage is. And at its core, self-sabotage is a self-defense strategy. Let me explain what I mean by that. So you've probably been out at a bar on a Friday night, and at some point, you've likely seen a friend of yours take offense at something somebody said, and this guy jumps up and starts acting really aggressively and making threatening comments and gestures while you and your friends are holding him back from an escalating conflict. And the basic message of this guy's behavior is, hey, man, you're lucky my friends are here, because if they weren't, I would fuck you up. That's the message of his behavior. But the fact of the matter is, if that same interaction had occurred and that man was alone and he didn't have his friends there to hold him back, he almost certainly would not have jumped up and acted as aggressively as he did. In the first scenario, he was able to act more aggressively and to retain his self-image as a force to be reckoned with because he knew there was a limiter in place to restrain his behavior. And that limiter actually made him feel safer in that situation. And this is paradoxical, of course, because he was acting much more aggressively, which is a much riskier behavior. He felt safer, so he acted riskier. We see this happen in a lot of different contexts. For example, when people practice martial arts in pads, they suffer more frequent injuries than when they spar without pads. The pads give many people the false sense of security, and they end up putting themselves in harm's way, thinking that they're invulnerable. And by the same token, the strikers feel like they can add more force to their blows without consequence. And when you put 2 and 2 together, you have the perfect conditions for an injury. So what does this have to do with self-sabotage? Self-sabotage is basically a way of communicating, potentially to other people, but really to yourself. If only my friends weren't here. If only my friends weren't here, I would feel your blood on my hands tonight. If only I weren't being held back, you would see how powerful I really am. If only. Now, before I go any further, if you're liking what you're hearing, please consider sending this video to someone who might benefit from its message. It's word-of-mouth referrals like this that really help to grow the channel. And if you're thinking about going to grad school, of course, you have to check out my top-rated GRE self-study program at stellargre.com. You can use the coupon code PSYCH for 10% off all membership plans. Now, in my little barroom example, blaming his friends for holding him back is a way for that person to protect his ego, which had recently been threatened, from a confrontation with reality. If those friends had not been there, and that man was acting a fool, and a fight actually had occurred, there's every possibility that he would have been handed his ass. And that would have been painful in more ways than one. reality can be very painful and very humbling, especially from the perspective of the ego, which would prefer to believe that it's very powerful or very charismatic or very intelligent or very competent or very funny or very attractive or very what have you. Of course, when we actually are those things, we generally don't create obstacles in the demonstration of our virtues. But when we're not so sure, we're subject to protecting ourselves from learning the hard way that we're not as powerful, charismatic, intelligent, competent, funny, or attractive as we might think we are by avoiding contact with reality.
This is the core right here. What he just said, I'll comment more on it after. But we pull back before we get to the ultimate, hey, I put in everything I could. I tried my absolute hardest, found out I really wasn't good enough, found out I really could not do it. That's what he's talking about. That's the core right there. You guys want to know why you self-sabotage? A lot of people don't know. Most of this is subconscious. That's why. We'll keep going.
And we do that by putting things in our way, like the friends in the bar that hold us back. That way, we don't actually have to fight and potentially lose. Self-sabotage is a way for folks to protect their egos by preventing contact with reality. Because reality will let us know just how powerful or intelligent or attractive we really are. And because their egos were prevented from coming into contact with reality, people can still operate under the fantasy that they are powerful or intelligent or attractive or whatever. The limiter prevents the potentially disconfirming experience with reality, which is why self-sabotage is protective. It's protective of the ego's narcissism. Mm-hmm. And this creates a measure of comfort for people, specifically the comfort of control. Self-sabotage allows people to control when they fail. And that makes people feel better. Because as painful as it is to make themselves fail, it's still less painful than failing on someone else's terms, which can include trying as hard as you can and still failing. That would not only be painful, but it would disabuse them of the fantasies that they would prefer to continue to entertain about themselves. So it's at least twice as hard. And because they feel some measure of comfort in being in control of their failure, self-sabotagers, like the martial arts students who spar in pads, or the guy being held back by his friends in the bar, actually end up engaging in riskier behavior because they feel safer. And so we typically see people engage in risky behavior when they're self-sabotaging, abusing drugs and alcohol, picking fights in their intimate relationships, shutting down and withdrawing whenever there is a difficulty. And these behaviors allow people to preserve a fantastical self-concept by protecting their ego from disconfirming experiences with reality. Like I said, it's a fascinating phenomenon. What do you think? Does this fit with your own experience? Let me know in the comments below. And if you've gotten this far, you might as well like this episode and subscribe to this channel. We're full of good content here at Psychacks. You may also consider becoming a channel member with perks like priority review of comments or booking a paid consultation.
All right, I figure I'd play that for a little plug for him since we're using the video. But all right, so let's go back here. My other camera, it's a little finicky, so I'm on my webcam now. All right, so we were just talking, AJ, when we do self-hypnosis or hypnosis, we're going down into your core to see what's really there so we can heal it, face the trauma and heal it. And you said you had some resistance, some nervousness, some fear. Is that right?
Yeah, the first time I did a self-hypnosis with your audio, my body was, like I said, convulsing, and I cried a little bit. I'm man enough to say that because it was just like, just got out of a fight with a person that had just been laying her own self-projections on me. It's just like, oh God, what if she's right? What if she's right?
So you were convulsing. This was strong stuff. All right, so here's your friend Glenn Lawrence, by the way.
Yo, what's up, Glenn?
All right, so yeah, Psychacks' channel is pretty base. Subscribe to it. It's a great channel, guys. He helps men. He has a lot of great insights. He doesn't call himself Red Pill, but he pretty much is. So, you know.
As far as like the self-help goes that he was spitting out there, like, oh yeah, definitely in the RP praxology.
Yeah, so I'm gonna tell you guys the concepts we use to actually fix self-sabotage. But what you were talking about, and I agreed with you. I'm like, hey, there's times I've done sessions on myself where it's like, I don't want to do this, man. And we agreed it's the same thing. It's like, what if we go down and we look at who we really are and find out, oh, you really are the piece of crap your ex says you are, or that, maybe you had an abusive parent, your abusive parent, or the bullies when you're growing up, the bullies made you feel like, what if you really are that piece of crap, the bullies, the kids made fun of you? Because, for those of you who understand how our subconscious works, thank you, Lord. Laurent was on my show yesterday, very high value. He went from bottom 1% of socioeconomic status, very, very just destitute, to top 1%. Inner game was huge for him. We talked about that. So watch that episode from yesterday's great episode. Thank you, Lauren. So all of this is tying into self-sabotage. Why do we self-sabotage? Because if you try your hardest to succeed and fail, you're going to have to face the fact, according to your perception, that you're not good enough. That is one of the most painful emotions we have, if not the most painful. A feeling that I'm not good enough, I fall short, I'm inadequate, maybe at an extreme level. I'm bad, sinful, worthless, evil. This is all toxic shame.
Yeah.
You can watch my very first video on toxic shame, and was that toxic shame had to do with why you're convulsing? You know what I mean by toxic shame, right?
I think it was just like all the abuse, from her, all the abuse that I suffered as a kid from not my parents, but from like bullies and stuff, growing up poor.
What if everyone who said I wasn't good enough is right? That's if you find out, we're afraid if we find that out for real, that's true, it's devastating. But we never find that when you go inside, but that's a fear. Yeah. Yeah. So why we self-sabotage is Layla Hormozi on my YouTube, my live show on how the ultra wealthy view failure, which is they view it as a learning tool. If they fail, it doesn't mean they're not good enough. But Layla Hormozi on that YouTube live session like last week, it's how the ultra wealthy view failure. She talks about productive procrastination. And what she's saying is you're procrastinating doing the things that you really could fail out there, going to make you feel like crap. So you're doing all the safe things that make you feel good because it's like, I'm being productive. This is at the core of self-sabotage. Let's say you have a goal here. I want to achieve this goal. I want to make, 6-figure salary or approach 100 girls and get 20 dates or whatever the goal is. I want to hit a 300-pound bench press or 250 or whatever. You have the goal. And we're going to do things that make us feel like we're doing work. And you may actually be making some progress. But what people do is they work, they make some progress, and then they run out of energy, and boom, before they get to the end. I've literally had guys say, right before I reach my goal, I'll just blow it up. And what's going on subconsciously is they're like, if I can't reach this goal, then they come in contact with, it's actually, they're not coming in contact with reality. They're coming in contact with how their subconscious views reality, their perception, which is if I go all out and I fall short, it's going to prove I really am worthless. It's going to prove I really am not good enough. And this is why people, they do stuff because they want to reach these goals. They want to hit a 300-pound bench press. They want to get the attractive girl. They want to hit a 6-figure salary or get a master's degree or just whatever they want. They want these things, but if they go all out and fail, that's going to mean they really are not good enough. They really are worthless or whatever that deep down toxic shame trauma is. And so they stop short of that because it's better to say, I can do it. It's just, I stopped short. I didn't try my hardest. That's why I didn't succeed. So they don't have to find out the answer, whether they're really not good enough or not. Because if it's like, well, I could do it if I tried harder, but I didn't try harder. That's a lot easier to face than, man, I gave it all and I found out what I'm really made of. I found out I really am not good enough. That's a terrible feeling. Terrible feeling. That's toxic shame, the most painful feeling we have. So we fix it. Oh, thank you. Here's a all right, I gotta put this up, man. Fantastic episode. Bring perspective to other creators' content. Thank you. So yeah, better framing with the painting. Well, it's because my main camera crapped out, so I'm on my webcam now. But thanks. But yeah, okay. Voice sounds distant. Thanks. And that's true. All right.
Yeah.
So
I think that's one thing that I
ahead.
definitely appreciate from men like yourself and John and Thor in the Sphere is like, hey, it's okay to fail, but learn as you fail, learn how to get better, accept it. And then like little shout out to John Fitch because I talked to him before I started my going to MMA classes.
Mm-hmm.
He's the one that pretty much like told me to be humble. Just take your beating, get humble, get your ego out of the way, and you'll learn a lot more, a lot quicker.
That is excellent. And you know what? I'm going to play a video I wasn't planning on playing, but I want to show you guys what it looks like after you clear your internal world. I want to show you guys what the correct mindset is, where you will not have issues with self-sabotage if you have this mindset. So let me bring up this other video. I played this video before, but this is such a great video. I got to share it. It's very relevant to this. And this is where we want to get you. In fact, this guy is, let me tell you about his background real quick. I got to share it first. Okay, so we're going to watch Tom Bilyeu. Tom Bilyeu has a channel called Impact Theory. This guy here used to be a couch potato. He used to sit on the couch while his wife went to work, and he would just sit on the couch watching TV. Well, he had a big internal shift. He started a business. I believe he's on his third business now. His net worth now, combined with his wife, is $400-500 million. He's basically a half billionaire or close to it. He's going to tell you how he looks at failing, embarrassing himself, falling down, because the Psychacks guy was saying that guy that didn't want, said he was going to beat that other guy up, had his friends hold him back. That guy really didn't want to get in a fight and risk getting beaten by that guy, because if he did get beaten, he would feel terrible. Well, Tom Bilyeu is going to tell you how he feels when he actually does fail or lose or get rejected or get humiliated. What's going on? What's his mindset around this? And by the way, he will tell you right now, this is the key to his success, why he's worth 400 million plus now. Here we go.
Life, it made me fantastically wealthy. And now I'm looking around going, hey, there's nothing that special about me. The thing that made me successful is I'm a relentless learner. So I'm just unafraid to embarrass myself, to fall down, to look stupid. And because of that, while other people are laughing at me, I'm laughing on the inside because I'm like, motherfucker, on a long enough timeline, I'm going to win because I'll learn and I'll figure this stuff out.
So why does he not care? What's he focused on? What'd you hear there, AJ? What's the benefit?
Like if he fails, he's going to learn. He's going to take that failure, learn from it, and then expand and get the experience one way or another. So as people are laughing at him, they're wasting time laughing. He's laughing because he's going to win.
He's laughing because it's like, because I'm failing, I'm learning, and I'm going to get ahead in the long run. You guys are too scared to try. Everyone else is self-sabotage, and everyone else is productively procrastinating. They're making efforts in order to appear like they're moving forward, but they don't ultimately want to go all the way to and then fail and then devastate their ego because they're like, man, I did go all out and I did fail. It means I really am not good enough. Those people laughing at him would rather hold back and not go all out, because then they can say, oh, I could have tried harder. I can really succeed. I just didn't try hard enough. So P-Dubs, welcome to the show. P-Dubs always is like red pill up on all my videos, so appreciate it, man. So this is what we get in your core, in your subconscious. So what hypnosis does, someone comes to me, you can do this with self-hypnosis too. I have something called Diet of the Five, which we figure out what is your belief deep down. It's a little bit different for everyone. So we got to figure out the nuance. Why are you afraid of failure? Why are you afraid of self-sabotage? What's really going on, and what is the belief in you? Some people say I'll be a loser if I fail. Some say I'll fall short. Some say I'll hate myself. I'll be completely worthless. Some say everyone will reject me and I'll be left all alone. It's different for different people. The type of pain is a little different for everyone. So we have to find out what that pain is for you that makes you pull back and self-sabotage, so you don't find out that you're really not good enough. and have that pain come all the way to the surface and devastate you. You know, you're trying to save yourself from answering that question because you're afraid of what the answer might be. So what we put in you is failing does not affect my value. I have massive value just for who I am. I don't need to do or say anything to have this value. I just have it. If others can't see my value, it doesn't mean I don't have value. It means they cannot see it. That's their blindness. That's their problem. But I know that those who succeed the most first fail the most because they try the most and they try the hardest things. The more I do anything, the better I get until I get enough skill to get anything what I want. That's exactly what Tom Bilyeu's saying. I don't care if I fail. It doesn't affect my value. I don't care if I look stupid. It doesn't affect my value. I'm learning. I'm getting better each time. I'm winning in the long run. We actually, the thing about hypnosis, and we use other techniques too. You know, there's self-talk techniques. Something we do called evidence-based identity statements. There's something else called life gamification, where we're actually getting you to chase pleasure and to convince yourself that you do have value by showing your subconscious the evidence of all the good things you do. So there's other techniques that we use, but people who self-sabotage deep down have toxic shame, which is a fear that they're really not good enough. And so they always self-sabotage to keep from confirming that they really are not good enough. You get to the point where you do not attach your value to your success. You have value just for who you are. Then you don't need to be successful to have value. And if failing doesn't affect your value, you don't need that. So we put that in your core. We put in the message that, hey, the more I do anything, the better I get. That's a true statement. That's how it is. You start as a beginner at something, you practice, you get better and better until you get enough skill to get what you want. Having success is getting what you want. Having success does not define your value. If you believe it defines your value, then you're going to be terrified of doing anything you could fail at, because then you won't have value when you fail. So when we do hypnosis, we are working with these deep down core beliefs in your core. This stuff develops in childhood. By age 8, 75% of your subconscious programs are formed. By age 14, 95%. This is science. People know this. So if you become like Tom Bilyeu, you get this in your core, you realize that failing is just learning. Then you can go all out and you can fail. And instead of I'm not good enough, it's like, oh, I'm learning, I'm getting better. Exactly. And once you realize that, once you realize you have value for who you are, now you have true blue confidence. And now you're not afraid of failure. And so now there's no need to self-sabotage. Self-sabotage, you're preserving your ego. You don't want to find the final answer and really find out you are not good enough. You're avoiding pain. We pursue pleasure, avoid pain, and our strongest motivation is avoid pain. You put these new narratives in you, there's no pain to failing, because failing is learning. That's exactly what he said. You get this in your core, and guess what? No more self-sabotage. Self-sabotage is done. Now, yeah, you might try and fail, but then you try again, you try again, you try. Thomas Edison tried 1,000 times to invent the light bulb before he succeeded. The reason he invented it and someone else didn't is because he was willing to fail 1,000 times and keep pushing forward until he finally did succeed. That's what separates great people. We think great people are smarter, more talented, et cetera, that they're just better than us inherently. Everyone has talents, but it's not really the case. The truth is they just keep going. They plow through their failures until they get everything they want. So do that, and self-sabotage is no longer an issue. Anything to add on this, AJ?
I think going into like the self-sabotage, and also like from the first video, the longer you procrastinate and the longer you self-sabotage, you're not only creating yourself pain in that moment and throughout that process, but when you do fail, you have to add on failure. Like my last relationship, I was procrastinating on letting it go due to my own like confidence issues and other things. And like I was causing myself more heartache and more pain by holding on to the crazy than just letting her go. So
okay. And anything final to add on self-sabotage? Do you feel that's something you used to struggle with that's better, or how would you apply that to yourself?
I'd say in certain aspects of life, it's gotten a lot better. I don't do it as often. There's other aspects like I'll use my own dating life, for instance,
Yeah.
where I do still self-sabotage. I still have a little bit of cold approach anxiety, but I have a plan to take care of that. I don't know. You've met Justin Mark virtually, at least.
Yeah, well, you know what? We'll talk after the show. I'll show you how you can do self-hypnosis to clear approach anxiety, because I help guys with that all the time.
Yeah.
We'll do that after the show. But AJ, thanks for being on the show. Thanks for sharing your story, how you got True Blue Confidence and how that led you to get a pay increase. Let go of people that no longer served you, because I think now you realize you don't need your friends to be good enough. You don't need these people who are toxic. You don't need their validation. You're just good enough, period.
Exactly.
Yeah. So when you get this in your core, guys, it fixes so many things. It fixes a ridiculous amount of stuff. You are enough just as you are. You don't need to say anything to be good enough. Failing doesn't affect your value. You just have value. Man, you get that in your core. It fixes self-sabotage and so many other things. So that is our show for today. Thanks for watching, guys. I appreciate all the comments. P-Dubs, IB1789, Laurent, and everyone else, Glenn Lawrence. That's our show for today. And just remember, guys, I hope I got to line up the outro first. You have more power than you know.